What's your story?
I am Gilda Woodridge, and this is my story.
So tell her where you from?
I'm from here. I'm from New Orleans, the Ninth Ward, but particularly because we have to be specific when we claim the Ninth Ward. I'm from across the canal.
Okay, so for yourself growing up cross canal, I'm like, tell them, if a little bit, I'm like, I'm like, upbringing.
Well, I grew up before Katrina, New Orleans, so it was beautiful. Honestly, it was a struggle, but I didn't know I was struggling. I didn't know I lived a unfortunate, poor life, to say the least, in a sense, because everybody was happy, and it was always a good time. It was always a party. It was always something going on. It was fighting and typical neighborhood stuff. But I grew up in an area of, like, my dad is from Cross the Canal, my mother's from Cross the Canal. They lived on opposite sides of Cross the Canal, so I never really left. I would go visit my grandparents and stuff like that. So for me, it was a close knit family. Like, all their friends was from Cross the Canal. So it was no reason to leave. Like, I remember when I first left and walked across the bridge. Like, that was far to me. So before Katrina, if you knew New Orleans, you knew a different type of environment. And it was a really, really great time for me. I mean, like I said, when you look back and you think about how you were living, it's like, dang, I lived like that. But there was no social media. There was nothing for you to compare your life to. All you knew was what was in front of you. And I had a great childhood. It was definitely a struggle, but I didn't know what a struggle was. I grew up to understand that I was poor. I didn't really know.
Yeah, I just told someone like, actually before cell phones was like a different approach of meeting people.
Yes.
Like, you have to actually ask the girl for the, phone number.
People walk around with a pen.
Yeah, pen and like you actually have phone numbers on your hand. So like a female will actually know how many phone numbers you got on your arm, your wrist. And like, you actually have to be in school and like write a real long letter. If not a text message.
I got a lot of letters growing up.
If how many do you think?
I don't know. I still get letters.
Still? Oh, well, we gonna get into how you still get letters.
Yeah. So for me, just my upbringing in the Ninth Ward, it was just everybody was a family. Like, even I remember, this is a weird story, but I smoked a cigarette for the first time. I was 12 years old, and I tried a cigarette with some people I knew. And as soon as I grabbed the cigarette and puffed it, somebody pulled up and was like, "I'm gonna tell you, Daddy." That's how the neighborhood was. First of all, I didn't even know the person that stopped. I just grabbed the cigarette. They were just riding past, and immediately they recognized me based upon who my parents were. So we lived in an environment of New Orleans back then where, I actually grew up in the times where people in the neighborhood treated you like you was their child. My children would never know or imagine something like that because I don't even think they talk to the neighbors, but for me, people was pulling up, walking up to you, chastising.
And like, that's actually where that saying come from. If it takes one old, if it takes a whole village. Yeah, it takes and like, these days, the brand new parents, I don't want nobody to actually tell my children that. So it's kind of reason why, if these young boys don't have any respect for their neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Like, like back then, when I was a little, in a teenage, even if you shoot guns or hustle, you still don't do it while the old lady on the porch. Yeah. Like, you were like, you kind of move around.
You present yourself a little bit better.
Like, now these young dudes that go run on the porch and rob the lady that, you've been seeing for 20 years. Been sitting on
They're
the
very
porch.
desensitized, and a lot of things desensitize them. And so I know, like, I got jumped on Instagram commenting on the young boys. And I say jump because I got jumped in the comments because so many people attacked me.
Hey, so what happened?
So now I have to watch what I post, like watch what I comment on. I try not to comment on controversial topics. It was a topic about the carjackings, and something happened where I wasn't defending the person that did it. I was just in awe by the reactions from people. Like, I couldn't believe some of the reactions, And the reactions were no better than what the kid did. You know, it's like you want to be okay with some stuff, but we let other stuff slide based upon, you know, an eye for an eye is still an eye for an eye. You know what I'm saying? So some people believe in the death penalty, some people don't. You know, because if you believe in it, then you have to understand that you give it and you take it. Now, if you feel like if you do something that person doesn't deserve, you know, you have to forgive. You can't say you believe in the death penalty if you want to be forgiven. Because if you believe in the death penalty, then how do you believe in forgiveness? You understand? If I kill somebody and you want me to die, you don't believe in forgiveness. It's no reason. And so sometimes I wasn't defending the person. I was just in awe by people not really thinking that deep into what they're saying when they want to get a point across. And I keep my comments to myself now because I do not want to get jumped in comments. Because I don't know the circumstances, I don't know the situation, so I have to watch what I say because I don't want to be defending somebody and I don't even know what happened. You know.
But anyway, you go, people gonna judge you anyway.
Oh, trust me, I know I get judged. So I watch what I say.
So let's bring it all the way back again. So, how old were you when you first started dating?
13.
And so what happened, you know? And bring it back to them, you know.
That's crazy that you say that. So,
and let's bring it back in the day when you first started dating.
That's crazy that you say that because that actually has to do with why I commented on the posts. And I commented, so when I first started dating, I dated a guy. He actually passed away while we were dating. And I was 13, 14 years old. And he was 15. And he died. But he used to steal cars. It's crazy. And so, which is why I have an opinion. Because I was the little girl in the stolen cars. Like these little kids that we want, all this stuff that's happening today. I was that person when I was very young. And I wasn't thinking about the cars. All I knew was he had a car. And I knew it was stolen, but I wasn't thinking about, I was desensitized. It never dawned on me, or I never came across, or we never talked about who the car was for or what they went through, you know, or anything. All we knew was we had something to ride in. It was focusing on what we were about to go at next. It was never no deep thought into anything. We weren't smart enough or we wasn't intellectually there. Like we just knew we wanted to ride and he had a car and every time I turned around, it was a drill. We had a car. The police would stop the car. Everybody in the car take off running. We jump out the car, run. Everybody's scared. The police can't run behind all of us. You know, we all going different directions.
Oh, so you were fast.
I was fast. I was jumping fences and everything. 1-2 hop over. So I'm not bragging on it because I really had no idea and I would die if my kids did this. And if I could go back, I wouldn't. But he actually died in a high-speed chase running from the police. And I was 13 years old, you know, and that was the beginning of the era of me with bad decisions and men. And
it's hitting on like reality too.
No.
It's still in reality?
I mean, I never rode another stolen car, but it didn't deter me from the life of crime. Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm just keep it right there for a moment. Like basically, at that age, losing your boyfriend and like because he was running and everything. Like did it ever dawn in your mind like, dang, but I could have been in that car that day?
No, that's crazy. I never thought about that. I never thought about that. That's crazy that you said that. Till this day.
But your life could have changed from that day.
So what I did was I did think about how. So I was waiting on him after school to pick me up. That's crazy. I was in middle school. He was in high school. He went to Sarah T. Reed. I was standing outside, me and my best friend. We were waiting. We missed our bus. Because, some days we caught the bus, but we didn't catch the bus because we had been brought to and from school by him. He would drop me off at school and then go to the east to Reed. Now, he's 15 years old. He was dropping me off in middle school. And he going to school. So this is just going to show you how, the mentality was. We were living adult lives as children. And it's crazy to actually sit back and think, like, I wouldn't even imagine my 14-year-old doing something like this. But that's how advanced I thought I was in a sense. This type of stuff we were doing. The fact that he was able to drive the car. I don't trust my 17-year-old to drive me around, and I was letting him drive me around. They're going to show you where I was mentally. But we were waiting on him to come and pick us up. And he never came. So eventually we had to walk because we missed the bus. And we lived across the canal, and we went to school across the canal. So I walked home, and by the time I made it home, my phone was ringing. And somebody told me that he died. And the boy who told me he died, I was young. I thought he was just jealous and just telling me anything because he liked me. And I stopped, and I was talking to him, but I stopped talking to him for that guy. And so I was like, stop playing with him. He gonna beat you up. That was my exact words. And I turned on the news, and it was true. Like, it made the news, like that a 15-year-old and a 16-year-old, he was in a car with somebody, was in a wreck, and they died in a police chase. And so I couldn't believe it. And from that day, I vowed not to ever get in a stolen car. Did I think it could have been me? No. I just didn't want, for him, like, I just thought, like, I don't want to do that no more. Like, it wasn't nothing impactful like what you thought that I should have been thinking, because I should have thought that could have been me, but I didn't think that could have been me. I just knew, like, I don't want to get in a stolen car no more. He was the only reason why I was riding a stolen car. So
on one more like deeper conversation, because and we have to pause right here, because right now they got females still to this day trying stuff, riding with these boys, and not knowing what's going on and like the real danger. So what's your advice to one 14-year-old Gilda jumping in stolen cars?
Oh my God. I think it's to think about the person. A lot of times as youngsters, because I was a youngster and I didn't think, my only advice was think about, consider it being somebody you love. Because until it hit home, a lot of people, it don't register for some people. So if it don't hit home, then you desensitize. It happens all the time. You can watch a million videos of somebody fighting, but if it's somebody that you care about fighting, you feel a certain type of way about it. The desensitized goes completely out the window, because now you feel something. If it's somebody you care about, you feel it. So to put somebody you care about in the shoes of the person that you are taking from. I don't want nobody, so now I live my life. I don't steal, which I never really did steal. But I don't steal because I don't want nobody stealing from me, right? I don't want to do you. I don't want you to do me what I wouldn't do you, and vice versa. So the advice that I would give to them is to just think about the person. And a lot of times they're not thinking about the person. They have no consideration. Why? Because they don't know them people. They don't know them at all. So how can I think about somebody I don't know? You have people that's getting their car stolen. They taking it personal. But the kid, they don't know or care if you black or blue, white or brown. They just want your car. Right. Unfortunately. And that's very unfortunate. But they just need something to ride around and don't want to get around and, just want to do something. And it's become a thing. Because I was asked to go speak at juvenile jail. And they call it licking. Like the kids, they go around and...
Oh, they got a name for it now.
They got a name. All the girls, like, they lift their head up when I said it. They was like, they love it. It's a thrill for them, but they are very, very... Imagine me, this was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, a long time. But 20 years later, I was desensitized 20 years ago. 20 years into that, our children like mine are out here doing this. Not my kids, but other kids. They're literally out here doing, imagine 20 years of desensitized, being desensitized, seeing what they're seeing. It's okay for you to show them and expose them to all these things, but you are literally creating people that are desensitized to feelings. They're not really considerate on how a person feels. They're not thinking about grandma or mama or nothing, because they've been exposed to so many different things. They watch these things endlessly. They are literally not thinking about it. But when they do, because they do, either it's when they get older or when something happens. And so to get them to think about it before it happens is something that as collectively they can't do on their own, because it's not there for them to do. But if we as society, in a sense, could just really start bringing that to their attention in an awareness to where it's actually registering. Because you could talk to people on the face, that don't mean I caught it. I didn't catch on. I don't understand. You could teach me I learned how to do geometry. I don't remember. I never really understood it. I couldn't do it without you pointing out exactly how to do it. So especially in our environment, being black, being young, being a minority, being poor, you telling them, but they're not ready. It's not registering. It's not registering at all.
Yeah, but I'm about to trip your head out. So I talked to this lady, right?
Mm-hmm.
So not the same thing you went through, but kind of similar. Like, imagine you being 14-year-old having a boyfriend that got killed.
Oh wow.
From gun violence, and you have a daughter the same age, and she makes 15, and her boyfriend gets killed. Oh, imagine like repeating the cycle. So imagine your daughter meeting one, having a boyfriend that steals cars. And the same thing happened.
Oh Lord, I cry.
So that's what I'm saying. So it's like, just having like a deeper conversation, thinking about like, wow.
I had a lady walk up to me, and she was talking, and she was like, I wanted you to talk to my daughter. She was like, I was writing you, and I said, well, you wrote me, and she showed me the message. She wrote me on Instagram, and I was like, well, where's she at? I talked to her. She said she dead. True story. I couldn't believe it. I bust out crying like I knew the girl. I said, what do you mean she died? She said, I wanted you to talk to my daughter because her boyfriend, he was in the street life, and I know a lot about you. And I was like, I couldn't. So when I'm asking her, I talked to her for you, not realizing that the girl passed. The girl had passed like 4 months before I met the lady. And she pulled up the message where she wrote me a long message before her daughter died and asked me to talk to her daughter about, because it's easier when you're talking to somebody who actually been there, who could actually say, I've been there, try to make different decisions, because it's not registering right now, but you're not going to want the outcome, Being in prison, in jail, I realized that most 85% of the women, and that's a number I'm throwing out there. Oh, that's my favorite number, by the way, 85%. But to say the least, more than half, way more than half of the women incarcerated was in there for something with a man. Whether they was in there for doing something to a man, defending a man, accomplishing a man. Something had to do with them and their man. Most of the women on big charges was in there because, and they was in there attached to a male in some type of way. So her wanted me to talk to her daughter, and knowing her daughter died with the boy. Her and the boy got killed together. I cried, and I never met the little girl. But just knowing, like, that could have been me, all the situation that I put myself in young, and I'm just very blessed to be able to talk about it and help. Because once I realized it was way too late. I had already had a record. I had all those kids. I did everything under the sun. I could sit back and say, oh my God, what was I thinking?
Well, we ain't gonna tell you full story yet. We still got more to come. So, going to high school, but you already know, but at a very young age, you already had a boyfriend and actually lost them. So getting out of high school, so like, did you have your first child in high school or after?
I had twins in high school.
Oh, hey, so that's bring us back to this whole twins scenario, like hey, but how did you actually meet the baby father and what happened and everything like that?
Oh my God! So I met my baby father walking up the street. I used to always leave. Of course, we hanging in the hood, and I always hung in the hood. I go on, at the time it was sets. So everybody hang on different sets and stuff like that. And I actually met my baby father on a set. That I used to always go around because, he had a car. So at the time I graduated, no more stolen cars, they buying me cars. So now mind you, I was in high school, but my baby daddy I was the girl. Like I said, I was 13 and the boy I was dating was in high school. I was in middle school. By the time I made it to high school, I was dating older men. He wasn't older, but he was much older than I was. So he was over 21. He wasn't, 20, 30 or nothing, 25. He was young, but he was still adult-ish. So we actually got in trouble when my parents found out how old he was. And his parents found out how old I was, and they flipped the brick. They was upset when they found out. But, that was the era. People talk about
how
it.
Was the baby shower?
There was no baby shower. Hurricane Katrina hit.
Ooh. So that was very interesting year for you, 05, huh?
05, I was a 05 senior. I graduated 2005. I was
me
a
too.
senior for Hurricane
That was the
Katrina.
best year of my life.
That was the best year of my life too, but I was pregnant. It still was the best year of my life.
I had so much fun.
I went to Georgia.
But I had so much fun. Every them 2 months before the storm hit, I was just making 18 in June when I could do what I want. That was a hell of a year.
I made 17.
Oh, you graduated early?
No. I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. Oh, my birthday in August. That's why. So I had just made 17, and I was a senior, and we left.
If you was making 18 after Katrina.
No, I made 17 2005.
You
I
made
made
17?
18 2006. Yeah, I had my kids at 17.
So you graduated early. You supposed to graduate on 17.
Oh, I graduated early.
That's why I said you graduated early.
But and I actually was living with my baby daddy at 17.
And so y'all was in Georgia. If you fresh,
I was living with him at 17. I didn't live with my
twins.
Parents. And with twins, with children.
So
I've been grown.
So jumping in the world grabbing the world, but not knowing what's going on back in home in New Orleans, having fresh babies. Like, I want you to like kind of explain it like leaving high school and becoming a full adult, living in the house of your own and having kids. How was that experience for you?
So when I got to Georgia, I went to school. It was amazing, but heavy on the butt. We were behind academically, and I never knew that. That's another thing I didn't know. I found out that me and a lot of the people that I come up with, Louisiana was behind tremendously. So when I realized how far I was behind and that I had to take the Georgia State exit exam, I wasn't going to pass it, and I wasn't going to graduate, and I was never going to get kept back either. So I had to make a choice. A lot of us, we reached out to old staff members in the schools that we went to. Me particularly, I reached out to a teacher by the name of Miss Carney, who worked at Lawless across the canal where I went. And she told me that I could receive a distance diploma for being a senior for the Stone. And I dropped out of school and got a distance diploma because I wasn't going to graduate in Georgia because I was behind. I wasn't ready to graduate. When I saw what they had on the table, I knew that I wasn't going to graduate. I didn't know none of the stuff they was teaching. I was on a 9th grade level in Georgia, my senior year in Louisiana.
That's crazy, right?
I was completely behind. I knew then that we were completely academically behind. Apparently, people knew, but we didn't know. We didn't know we was behind. We thought we was behind fashion-wise. Now, we knew we got the clothes late. We didn't know that we was academically behind. I mean, at least I know I did. I don't know if you knew that, but we were.
I knew.
I was behind like my.
But I went to both, so I wasn't actually behind. I went to private and on public.
I was behind. I went on public school.
Able to jump ahead. So, you knowing what you knew, what made you come back to Louisiana and raise your kids here?
I was still a kid out there. So coming back, I was a kid coming back. I came right back home. It didn't really, again, maturity. I wasn't mature. So I wasn't really making rational decisions. I'm making decisions that are huge decisions, but they're not rational. I'm just living. There's no thought, no adult maturity at all going on. I thought I was mature. I'm doing mature things. I'm having sex. I'm committing crimes, participating in different illegal activities, but I wasn't mature. Just because just because you make decisions and you grown, you make a certain age, you got children, don't mean you mature. And I wasn't mature. So me coming back was very immature of me. But I wanted to come back. I wanted to be home. Where I was from, when I watched the news of Hurricane Katrina, I didn't recognize anything because everything was underwater. I couldn't tell you what nothing was. Nothing. I recognized people, and I knew where they were because of the people they were picking up because I was watching it on CNN from Atlanta. But I recognized nothing from across the canal on TV. Everything was underwater. I didn't see. I couldn't tell you that's that. I couldn't look at it, and I went to see they turned into Canal Street or Gentilly or the bridge. I knew that that's the bridge. I can see it. That's the St. Claude Bridge or the Claiborne Bridge, but the water's so high, I can't tell you what nothing is. You're looking at you're trying to tell direction from certain. It's like finding Waldo. In a sense for coming back after Katrina. So then we couldn't get across the canal, but I wanted to be home. That was just me. Once I graduated and got out of school, I didn't want to be nowhere else. I just wanted to be home. I didn't realize the effects home would have on me later in life. I should have left and stayed, but again, I just didn't realize.
Hey, everyone have a story to tell, and we're here for it. So let's hear more. So coming home, but throughout your 20s, did you have a job or what did you do?
So throughout my 20s, I worked little odd jobs, but when I made 24, I started volunteering and helping out because I started to register in my brain the direction I had gone into, and I had already had a conviction, and I just I saw like.
Let's bring it back. How did you get your first conviction? Because I don't want to like miss parts of your story.
Oh,
so for
no.
the people,
I hit somebody with a car.
So tell us the incident. How you even got?
There was an altercation with a girl. I was driving and her and her friends was walking past the car, and I don't know what happened. It happened so long ago. I don't know. Whatever it was, they started it. And they was hitting the car. Because I think I came out too much when it was coming around the car. So they had to go around the car a little bit. But I definitely don't pick fights. So I know it wasn't me. Because I'm not aggressive like that. I can get aggressive, but I'm not an initiating aggressive person. You have to literally be a very agitating person for me to get upset. Like, I'm not aggressive. So I know that it was them because I remember them banging on the car, this particular girl. So I got out of the car. No, she opened my car door. Yeah, I think she came around. Oh, so what happened was I told him, I was like, I blew my horn because they was hitting my car. And I blew my horn and she kept hitting the car. So I hit him. I hit the gas on them. They kept hitting my car. And all of them, I threatened them first. And one of them, she didn't move. She thought she had bump on her legs. So I actually ran my car into her.
And how bad was the person hurt after you hit her?
She got up off the ground and opened my car door. And so we started fighting.
Okay. So after you hit him, so like, when you went to court, like, did you become a convicted felon, or you?
That's when I got my first felony. Because it was on camera. That's when I was one of the first people. It didn't hit social media because social media wasn't so social. Right. But somebody had it on Twitter. The fight was on Twitter. No Instagram or none of that stuff saw it. Till this day, I don't think nobody's ever seen that video. But it's a fight of me and the girl. But actually, me hitting her, that's where the conviction come in at. Because I actually hit her with the car. Even though she was smacking my car and all that, I hit the gas and popped her.
And I always tell people I regret becoming a convicted felon.
I regret it. I wish I could just go.
I wish I could not do what I did to become a felon.
I would do it all over again. I would let the girl punch on my hood and call the police on her. Because, for damaging my car. Because now, 22 and I'm in my 30s, my early 30s. Listen, I have had some opportunities came across my desk from people that was giving me opportunities that they cannot move forward because there's a higher rep or there's a higher up somewhere else that don't know me, that don't know what I'm capable of, and they're not giving me an opportunity when they look at what's on my record. It's one of the worst things in the world, and it has been my demise in a sense.
Yeah, I tell people, as soon as I became a felon, I automatically knew I wasn't going to get a job.
It didn't register at first because I still was able to work. It was when I started to stack them. When I go back and then go back. And now you're creating a track record of inappropriate behavior and, you just seeming like an aggressive person. So that's what I regret it. There's nothing that I don't regret stuff. And I understand that, we make decisions. Because I teach my children not to live in regrets, But when it comes to my record, that's something I will say I regret. I definitely am contradicting myself about regrets. Me saying I don't regret anything because I definitely will acknowledge that I regret becoming a felon. Just even early on. Because when I sit back and I think about the situations that got me into them, they weren't worth it. Now, if you go to jail for something, harming somebody or for doing something and you being defensive of your children, of your family, of your legacy, the stuff I was being defensive over, is meaningless, in a sense as I grow older and I think about it. So I could say it wasn't worth it. If you hit my daughter and I fight you, that's different. But the stuff I was fighting over, it was completely meaningless. And I live to tell people, please don't. I posted that on social media recently, and I just said the consequences, correlating consequences with your choices with your consequences. So correlating choices with consequences, it go hand in hand. Every choice you make, there's a consequence. For every action, there's a reaction. Are you ready for it? You think you're ready for it. Is 40-year-old you ready for it? Because 23-year-old you could potentially be ready. But it's 40-year-old you ready. And I don't think y'all going to talk the same talk. I don't think y'all going to have the same mind. So I just feel like it's very important to reiterate to people, on how important it is to contemplate and to think about the actions that they commit.
Gotcha. I want to throw you off a little bit off the subject before we go fully further, but I want to ask this before we, while we're in the middle of this interview. So, it be like younger Gilda versus now Gilda. Let's talk about the type of guys you are into, that you were into, you are still into, or if has anything changed.
So, I'm a product of my environment. And a lot of that, so like most of the guys that I dated was from my neighborhood. I've been through a lot in my mind growing up, and a lot of times I shut out people that didn't know me and didn't understand my upbringing. I don't know if that's an insecurity or what. But I told you I've been a felon. I've been exposed to a lot of stuff early. So I only felt safe around people that lived like me growing up. So a lot of times the guys that I was choosing, it wasn't that I had options because I wasn't really around good guys, if that makes sense. Because most of the guys from my neighborhood, they all did stuff they had no business doing. We all was doing it, type of schools I went to, just my environment itself. I'm definitely, especially when it came to men, I was definitely a product of my environment. And the men I chose were all men living a certain lifestyle. And it wasn't that I was choosing them. They was kind of like coming on to me. I wasn't going out picking men. Just so happened I picked all the same men. Like I could literally sit back and say, I was with the same man and I was with different men. In a sense. They weren't alike, but they all lived a certain kind of lifestyle. They were all different, all shapes and sizes, all kind of different personalities. But I found myself going through a revolving door with men, and I sitting there alone because now he didn't go into jail. And then I get in another relationship, and next thing I know, people came and picked him up, So it just became a revolving door for me, and then I had to sit back and realize, like, it's me. And I never thought about it like that. Because I'm not going to look for them. They come talking to me. They literally come and find me, in a sense. Like, most of the men that I dated, in some way or form, shape or form, they found me, And they very good at pursuing. Because most men have to, they pursue women. And I'm not hard to talk, to conversate with. But it definitely have to be something in person and, mutual. I have to know you. Now, me, I've learned my lesson. I've been burned a lot by decisions that I made when it came to men. So I try to focus more on my kids and not my decisions with men because, like I said, I've always felt comfortable around people that know me. If I haven't gotten to know you or I don't know you through somebody that's good people, then it's hard to get close to me. Because, I have to know somebody that know you for me to even sit in your company. Or I have to be able to, guys are like that too. They do their research. But a lot of times I don't necessarily have to do research. I don't need to call and ask about you. I probably already heard, or know somebody who know you. But a lot of the times it led me to dark places. And, it wasn't their fault. A lot of the men that I dated, they were doing things, they didn't know no better. Most of them was older than me, but they didn't really know any better with the choices that they were making. But I was right along with them. I got to a point in life where I was coaching them and trying to show them that, there was a better life. But, street money is a different type of money.
Right. So that was my question after you finish, with the type of man. Because, so many females, and like guys got that perception, like, if it was a female that can date a certain type of guy, it's kind of hard to like mess with a guy with a regular 9 to 5. When you got this drug dealer that's just giving you money, like it's fast money, but like
I never messed with a guy that had a 9 to 5.
So like, do you think it was one real thrill to like just know if the money was unlimited, but it like sometimes it only actually lasts only for like a few summers.
I didn't realize that at first.
Right.
Because just going in, you're not thinking that this person is going to go to jail, but being immature again, it's just going to show you my rationale was off. You know, even with them, their rationale was off because, you know, like one of my baby daddy, he was a great father. He was by far the best father ever. Horrible boyfriend, but an amazing dad. I know he wouldn't have wanted to leave those kids if he was actually putting thought into his decisions. He just knew that he wanted to live a good life. You know, and a lot of times where we don't really know our options because this is what we see. This is the people who we see living good. This is what they doing. It's easy. You know what I'm saying? You go out there and this is what you do. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It don't take a rocket science to go out there and do that. The dumbest people in the world could go make $1 million. You be sitting there going work at your 9 to 5 and you was all A student in school. And a dummy then out finance you in a million ways, you know, because it's not rocket science. It's the easiest thing to do, and it is the consequences that come behind it is dire. But because of what's happened now, because of the now, we literally look past, you know, the future because of the now. Now listen, it destroys families. I've moved on and had another kid. And he went to jail. I had no intentions on whether we was going to be together or not. Is irrelevant to the fact that I had no intentions of raising all my children fatherless. Now, whose fault is that? Is that his fault or is that my fault? He get the blame because he making decisions, but I also get the blame. You know, I also fall under that category regardless of whether I got caught up with him or, which I didn't, or you know, his choices, I knew at the end of the day. I was aware. You know, even indirectly, if you don't know, you know. And that's one thing that I speak to children about, young girls. Because I did it, I wouldn't do it now, but we accept it, right? If we stop accepting it, then they wouldn't do it. If women was to stop accepting at one time, this is in the old days, which not that long ago. 25, 30 years ago, if your mama knew you were selling drugs, you couldn't buy her nothing. She didn't want it. Get that out of my house. Right. I don't want it. Now, buy your mama something. She don't care where the money came from. She want it. You know, your girlfriend. You know, they'll tell you, you know, don't do that. But we got to a point where we accepting everything. And even though you might not be selling drugs with him, you accepting it. You accepting everything that come with it. He paying all your bills. You bagged out. You know what I'm saying? You designing trips, cars. You are selling drugs. Indirectly. So you embracing the lifestyle.
I always want to ask this question to a female who always only dated certain type of dudes. Like, if you could think back or think about it, like, did you really care about the person, or did you care about the lifestyle more? Because like usually you are.
I care about.
No, I want to get it because like you, okay. But you usually because like soon as that first person go to jail, die, and you still date the same type of person. So like in my mind, like, do you like actually care about the person, like that one person more, or you cared about the whole lifestyle in general? Because like because you always like repeat it, dating the same type of person. So I can't give too much information, but a lot of the dudes that I dated, they didn't come in a relationship happily. They got it during the relationship. So I care more about the person. Now, when you date a certain type of woman, she's supposed to help you in certain different ways. I mean, I can't say I put money in their hands, you know what I'm saying? But I literally showed them they could be more than what, you know, not just me. So I don't want to take that, and I don't want to say too much, but most of the men that I dated wasn't on that level when we got together. I don't date a man for his money. I date a regular dude. He might not be a regular dude once we've been together over a year, but when we got together, he was a regular dude. So like, it puts pressure on men. And it's another thing we don't talk about. The pressure that men feels to be with a certain type of person and to live a comfortable lifestyle. So you want to meet the standards of the person that you're with. How do you do that? If you really want to be with that person, you're going to do whatever to be with that person. And not saying that a lot of things were done because of me, but I know that being that girlfriend type of level I'm on, you want to match that, if not exceed it. 9 out of 10 times, eventually, the guy I'm with exceeded me, in a sense. You know, a man gonna outwork a woman any day.
You know what I'm saying? It's just a work ethic of a male.
Hopefully, because there got some women that's outworking a man.
Yeah, but you know, not they ain't.
It depends on
no street
what,
dude. You're not outworking no street dude. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not outworking him. Maybe he. Then again, I take that back because you might be outworking some of these dudes. But I mean, what are they doing then? You know, why are they out there? Ultimately, it's no reason to be out there because the risk is greater than anything because you could risk losing everything. But that's not considered in the midst of the, of the parade because it's not a storm at first. It's the parade. Everybody's having a great time. Everybody's accepting gifts and turning a blind eye to it until the person go to jail and they wondering where everybody at and they left them, But a lot of women, I hold men to certain standards because of the things that they do while they, when they up. But I also hold women to those same standards because you accepted everything, at the time. Unless he was a low down, cheating, no good person. I feel like most women should always, be there for the man in his downfall because you were there when everything was good.
Right. So, without saying names, talk about your personal life as well. Let's jump into one way much deeper conversation with it.
Lord.
Like basically, let's talk about the situations when, if that day come when, you gotta, hold it down with your man, or, you catch an active charge with your man, or the days when the feds come in that house and tell you half of that for you. So like, what's your advice to like females and different things who actually go through this thing? Because like you said something earlier as well, like it's a big percentage of women in jail for their men.
Well, I've been picked up a couple of times with men. By the feds. I didn't never get picked up by the feds, but I've been in the same household with men going to the feds. U.S. Marshals came. I went one time. The U.S. Marshals came and got the person I was with, and they took me to. And I went to the door, just going to open the door. I never open the door again. I don't go to the door no more unless y'all got to kick it in. But, my first time getting picked up like that, I actually opened the door. And when I opened the door, I had a gun to my head. Like, they were ready, They put the gun to my head, and I actually, I see how people die because I literally, moved, My first reaction was to tell them something. Like, what you doing? Why you got the gun to my head? I came to open the door. They're like, they didn't hear nothing I'm saying. Get down now. Get down, get down, turn around. And I'm just like, I'm steady talking, trying to get them to, understand, like, I'm not, because they want what they want, who they want, and you're not who they want, so you better get out the way. And just me not being aware, of the circumstances and the protocols, to say the least, when they come, I went. There's a chance that you could go. You may not always be josting them. You might be getting josed too, you think, when they come, sometimes they picking him up. No, sometimes they gonna charge you. You. There's a heavy chance that a lot of times if they feel like you're aware, even if you're not. And I do know there's some women that are not. I don't know how they're not, because sometimes they turn a blind eye. I've been in situations where I wasn't aware though, so I will defend some women. But for the most part, we know. I've had like now a man gotta lie to me. Now if you're doing something, I better not know. I know men, they'll lie about what they're doing. And a man had to lie to me for me to know, because I didn't know he was lying. Because I just don't want no parts of it. I don't want no parts of it. I don't give a fuck how much money you make. I struggle. Because ultimately, I'm still going to struggle if I go down that path with you. So there's a chance that you could be an accomplice. Sometimes they charge you with the crime. Sometimes they charge you with accessory to the crime. Obstruction of justice, withholding information. It's so many different ways that you could be incorporated into that. And you might not necessarily commit the crime, but they use tactics like trying to get you to cooperate. And it's easy to charge you if you don't say anything. They'll charge you. And a lot of times women, they talk. Because they don't have nothing to do with it. This is not their choice. And they do talk. Some women don't, Sometimes you talk and you still get charged. You know what I'm saying? But you have to understand that just because he doing it don't mean you going to get away scot-free. That's like a lot of these girls. A lot of these girls that's getting killed. A lot of them, people say they doing stuff. We don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to say why. But I will say this. You will suffer the consequences in some way. Sometimes that might not be your fate. Some women die. Some women go to jail. Some women just get off scot-free. But technically you is, because you're losing the love of your life, or you're losing financial support. You're losing something, you know. So I remember when I was a little girl, women getting killed with men being around. Because my uncle got killed. His girlfriend was in a car with him. And I remember everybody just talking about how they didn't even know she was dead, because everybody knew him and they didn't check on her. So he died, and everybody all around him, and everybody thought she was just sitting in the car scared. But eventually somebody went around the car and like, oh, she dead. Because everybody just saw him on the ground, because he didn't make it to the car. But they killed both of them, you know. So it's been going on. Just not as much as it is now. But girls been getting killed with men because you accept the lifestyle. And we keep talking about it. And I do not like when, and I'm not judging because I can't judge people. But a lot of times I have to refrain from commenting, because it's okay to pass judgment on this person for what they're doing. But you go to drug dealer. A sin is a sin. You know what I'm saying? You want to nail the child to the cross for stealing the car. You know, but your nephew said, you know, but you have people like this in your family, and you embrace them. You know, so I just have to watch what I say with people, you know, because it's like we embrace who we want to embrace. But if you want to change things, you got to let it go as a whole. I've let go of a crime-ridden lifestyle as a whole. It's no underhand, underline, no other reason why I could come out there. I have bad, horrible days while I'm not financially where I want to be. I could go get money. That's nothing. It's easy. You know, but I've gotten rid of it as a whole. I can't use that as an excuse. You know, I could go talk to this guy, you know, but I've gotten rid of that crime-ridden lifestyle as a whole. So that's an excuse to talk to him, because he's a part of a certain lifestyle. But it's like we accept things based on certain stipulations, and, you know, so I just have to stay away from those kind of conversations, because. And
also, at your age, you already know what it come with.
Yeah.
But I got another question for you about losses. Like if it's something that, you know, you haven't fully spoke on yet, like going to jail and doing different things. You had kids at a young age, so, you know, time lost with your kids, and also, you know, I'm gonna speak positive of you, you know, in Flowers, because, you know, you still in your kids' life throughout everything you went through. Your kids still adore you and work for you, and, you know, like even what situation you got, like, you trying to get your kids businesses and everything.
That's my baby.
So, like,
they so spur.
So, like, you know, tell the world, and, like, you know, for your kids who never, like, actually heard it out your mouth.
I affected them in ways I wouldn't even imagine, and I didn't realize it at first, because I was still living. When I first went, me and their father went, so both of us was taken away. And then, you know, I went so fast, I wasn't able to move. I had a house, the bills not being paid, so people had to move me. You know, people going through this stuff, and they're taking stuff. And so I lost most of everything. Stuff went to a storage. I had bought a house before I went to jail. When I came home, just so happened I did have assets. So I sold it, you know, but it shouldn't have went like that. You know, I bought a house when I was 27 years old, and I sold it before I was 30, within 3 years. Because, and I'm talking about cashed out. But it's nothing to brag about, because I had to sell it. And I sold it because I didn't have money. So that was one. I went back to jail, and I rebuilt everything up. I went, got more furniture, got another house. Built myself back up to where I needed to be. Went back to jail. Oh, Lord. Wasn't prepared. Lost it all. And now I'm a female. So going to jail, usually when a man go to jail, a woman is there to hold it down. But the man is already in jail. So I'm going to jail. There is nobody to hold it down. I only have kids. So now I got to start all over again. So I'm getting out. I'm going to sit down for time. And then I'm getting out with nothing again. So I got to restart. And if you know me, you know you didn't see me behind a bar. You didn't see me in a store. You didn't see me I will work anywhere. I'm one thing about me. It don't matter what I have. I like a consistent flow of money. I got children to take care of, and I have a lifestyle to maintain for my children. So if you see me working multiple jobs, it's because my children live good. They never had a rainy day from the time their father left. He was able to provide them a very nice lifestyle, so I wanted to make sure that I kept it. I didn't want it to be what my children felt like when they left their daddy. When their daddy left, things changed. So I worked and I overworked myself, but I didn't realize I was neglecting them. And that's a part of the loss. I went to jail again after I built all this up. And this is why I would never do nothing again. People came in my house. This is the first time it happened to me. And they took everything. I had everything in my house. Some people say don't do that. But I'm a girl. I'm not thinking it's going to happen to me. I think I moved good and the police took everything from me. What I did all of that for? What was the point of me doing it? There was no point of me doing it if they're going to come in here and take everything I worked for. So, I'm taking risks, and dangerous risks at that, So for me, the losses was tremendous. The neglecting my children, because I'm overachieving. I'm an overachiever. And I want them to live a certain lifestyle. So I'm constantly on the go and I'm constantly trying to live a certain life and make myself happy, give them what they want, materials. And my presence wasn't there. Now, for me, in my defense, I couldn't be there because they wouldn't have been able to live comfortable. But I do know that as people, we complain. We gonna say they have children that grow up and say, oh, my mama wasn't there, never there. They have children that grow up and say, my mama was always there, but we didn't have no money. So they're going to grow up and say something. And so now when I look back and I think about the effects I had on them, I try to balance it out now in a positive way. So I definitely neglected them with time at one point. They was always with me, unless I was incarcerated. I've always had my kids no matter what. But I definitely spent a lot of time away from them just working and overachieving for them so that they could be comfortable. And we talk, me and my children talk about it, like how they felt about us leaving and how things were and the way they were treated, because nobody gonna treat your children like you gonna treat them, and just missing us. And I have to deal with the personalities now that they growing up and also how they look at me.
Right. And imagine when this interview come out and, they actually watch this interview like, dang.
I hope they watch it because they don't pay me no mind. My children, I have a lot of kids that listen to me, but not my children.
Hey, but the dopest thing about you, I'm like telling your story, but this might help but that next woman to actually show her daughter early before something bad happens.
It's important that we talk to them and not talk at them. Because I had that bad. At one point, I was talking at them. I've always talked to my children, but I talked at them. I wasn't talking with them. And a lot of times it's tough because they remind you of things or they bring light to stuff that you kind of didn't see. And one thing about a child, they remember.
They remember everything.
We forget. And then we look back on our childhood, but we remember. And we forget that our children, we were once children. We look at it in a negative aspect. We don't look at it in a positive aspect. One thing about those kids, they remember. What are they going to remember? So that's my biggest thing. Redeveloping and the relationship with my children constantly because they all change. I change. I have a lot of different kids. I have 5 kids. So they all change and they're all different. They all have their own personalities. I have one that's a mixture of me and her dad. And, oh, Lord, that's all I can say. And I have one that kind of like embraces a street life. So I have to be on him like, because that's not where we're going. We have an understanding. We are woke in this house. And so you catch it, you better check yourself like they say before you wreck yourself because, when you go out there and crash, nobody was there for me because I was making those decisions. So just know I'm not going to give up on you, but you're going to have to deal with the consequences of your actions.
And the crazy part is like, usually, if your mama would tell you if the road you're going down, already, been through that, I seen it, but if not too many mamas could show that interview, look, listen, hey, go watch this and see what I went through.
Well, they can look at the type of men that I did.
And also you can ask me, like in life, sometimes just me being in it, being young, I remember if my cousin showed me $1 million when I was 17, I knew I wasn't going to get no job. I never seen that in my life. I told my mama, only way I can stop if I get caught. That's the mindset I had.
Yeah.
So I knew, and it's sad, because I wish that now I would never become a convicted felon. I could have did all kind of stuff to make money.
Yes. Literally, and you just don't know the
opportunity. In my mind, before Katrina shit,
oh no,
you didn't really have, you didn't even know, you didn't really know. You just, to be a millionaire, you was an athlete, a doctor, or you was a drug dealer.
I started selling weed when I was 14.
Right. I'm just saying in general, you didn't have that big vision, and nobody told you could be this. Nobody, Corinthians, people trying to get you trades. People not trying to tell you.
We had trades in school. We had home economics and all that.
But it wasn't the trade. These kids got opportunities because millionaires in high school.
Yeah, the opportunities are endless.
You think, you thought that it was unheard of. You was happy knowing somebody who people had money. Before Katrina,
I ain't know nobody who people.
I'm talking about I know people used to be like, man, yeah, man, hey, but little girl.
But you're right. I remember they had somebody who had a pool.
Yeah,
and everybody like they got a pool.
So it was unheard of. But I'm just saying in general, it's very hard. But a little boy, I'm gonna say from a man speaking, a woman can never raise a little boy.
No.
It has to have. It can be a stepfather. Got to be somebody in his life.
I struggle with that.
Right.
Because I have 3 sons.
And I'm gonna tell you the crazy part is I was watching a little Boosie interview. He said something. And that's the first thing I for that streets man. That was the first thing I didn't agree on. I want to when I see Boosie and I know Boosie, I want to tell him you're not
What did he say?
You might not know, but you're a product of your environment. So Boosie was basically when it comes to gun charges.
Oh, okay.
If the youngest dude take the charge. So basically, you let the youngest dude ever around you become a convicted felon. Ain't no OG I ever been around ever let me do some crash dumb shit like that.
So one of my charges came like that. Well, and I look back and I started to despise the person.
Before you see, dudes, that's like a little thing. Dudes, when you was young, you're like, man, the female gonna take the charge. That was so cool. But I'm talking about a little young dude, a young black male.
And you doing that to another man.
But me thinking about it now, that's even messed up too. Making your girl take the charge.
Sometimes women willingly take it. I did.
Well, no, I lie to you. 90% of the time, a woman gonna take a charge for a dude she dealing with.
That's true.
Because when you in it, you don't see it nothing.
Especially women.
I talk to women when they deep into a man, they're liable to try to really swim the Mississippi River with them.
Nah.
Yeah, because you're older now. But I'm talking about 21-year-old Gilda probably would have put the dope under her hip. Yeah, but that's what it's like.
If I tell you some stories and some stuff I did.
We gotta tell a full story. I'm just saying in general. But it's I get it. Yeah. So I can't never judge. But the only thing we do is pull them to the side and look, it's a better way to do it.
It's very important that we expose them to different things and we actually use people as examples. They need references because they're not really referencing it in a good way. We reference people going to jail, but we don't reference it in a good way. We reference it. We don't reference it we reference it in a good way, but not the negative aspect of it. We just say, they doing time, they doing their jokes. Nothing like they're losing out, they're missing their family time. We don't really think about the realistic part of it. It's we only think about it's some type of badge that they going to jail. We not actually thinking about the effects that it's having on their family. They're absent of their children. They're not making no money. None of that stuff is actually conversation that's being had. You gotta take care of them now. In most cases, now, literally,
it's a different world now. So they got dudes.
A lot of dudes.
But dudes in jail, they got I know some dudes in jail are richer than dudes on the street.
Yeah, you have a point, but it's still where you still obligated.
You're still not here.
You're not gonna talk on the phone like you do when you in jail.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Now I'm being singled out to a phone call. I gotta stop what I'm doing to answer a phone call to be considerate of you. You made your choice, but now I have to, because of your choice, I have to stop. I got to get up out this interview and go take a call, or something like that. Not saying I will,
but vice versa. He made his choice too, but you was a part of the choice. So if you was a part of that choice with him hustling and take care of you, you still got to answer the phone.
But because I wasn't a part of nobody's choices, I ain't answering.
You got to answer the phone right now. Okay.
Now I do agree with that. If you are, definitely by all means, you are obligated. But because who I am. And my choices?
You ain't obligated no more.
I ain't obligated.
Gotcha. So tell them, basically before we close this out, what's next for you? Your plans and everything like that.
So, it's back to the drawing board. When it comes to me, I have my shoe business. It's doing well. Um, and I have properties, Airbnbs and stuff like that. So I'm just getting my kids together because they're at this age to where like they're transitioning. My daughter's 17, so just making sure that I don't have a repeat. Like I said, I have a son that kind of like embraces certain things, just paying more attention to my kids at the time where it's critical, because sometimes kids reach critical points in their life, and they need more attention. So that's kind of like what I'm doing, giving my kids more attention. The podcast. And my biggest thing right now is my business ventures. And so I'm working on that. And I'm excited about it. It's all new to me. But I'm really good at what I do. So yeah, I told you I'm an overachiever. So for me, what's next is what I'm already working on and just building, scaling at another level. So,
Gotcha.
Mom life, scaling businesses, that's it. And moving, because I eventually plan on leaving New Orleans.
That's a great thing.
I'm out of here. Yeah, so hopefully I can get my kids to come as they grow older, because they're becoming young adults. But I'm out of here. So my youngest child will not be a New Orleanian. It'll be somewhere else. So that's what's next.
And also, last but not least, tell the world, where can you find you at on social media and everywhere?
At Simply Gilda on Instagram, on Twitter. I don't know my TikTok name. I don't really use TikTok that much, but I have one. So follow me on Instagram at Simply Gilda. I am a prison reform advocate. I volunteer a lot with different organizations. So come check me out. If you need help, if you need guidance or advice on something, like I said, I work on prison reform with a local New Orleans organization. Where I volunteer and I help out. We have a hub Thursday nights where we help people who's incarcerated, people's families. We help them and give them direction on what's next. What they need to do, who could help them, just transitioning from jail to home. And we help people who are incarcerated. We really help their loved ones. We help them, go in the direction that they need to go into for them to receive and achieve results. Because a lot of times when you're post-conviction and you're incarcerated, you don't really have help. And your family don't really know what to do. So we kind of like give that guidance and stuff like that. So you can go in person on Thursday nights, or you can do it via Zoom. But most of the time I'm present for that. I'm big on just helping people understand, that they can make better choices. So that's what I'm into right now.
Well, all right, we done. And also, but that's your story.
All right, that's my story.